Imagine a world without phones. No texting, no walkie-talkies, no internet, not even a piece of paper to write on. And yet, you need to send a message across miles of wilderness. A warning of danger, an invitation to a hunt, a signal that help is needed. And you need it to be understood by everyone who sees or hears it. For Native American communities, this wasn't a luxury. It was survival. From the windswept Great Plains to the thick eastern woodlands, they developed a brilliant system of communication that used smoke, mirrors, drums, and even animal calls to send messages over vast distances. This was not primitive yelling into the woods. It was sophisticated, elegant, and perfectly adapted to the land. Today we'll uncover these forgotten communication systems. Decode smoke signals beyond the Hollywood cliches. Listen to the heartbeat of tribal drums, and explore how trails, stones, and trees became a living message board. And we'll ask, what can these methods teach us in a world where we're drowning in information, but sometimes struggle to truly communicate? Communication wasn't a convenience. It was life and death. A delayed message about a coming raid, a failed call for help, or a missed signal about migrating herds could cost lives. Messages needed to travel quickly, clearly, and often silently. This meant designing systems that worked across open plains, mountain passes, and dense forests, without paper, wires, or permanent structures. These techniques weren't just tools. They were culture. Children learned them from elders the way we learn to read or text today. Every tribe had its own nuances, but the underlying principle was the same. Connect people across distance without breaking the connection to the land. When most people hear native communication, they think of smoke signals, but they rarely understand their sophistication. Different tribes use different combinations of puffs, lines, and rhythms. A single column might signal all is well. 2 quick puffs could mean danger, while a rising sequence could mark the location of a successful hunt. Smoke could be made thick or thin by changing the material burned. Damp grass produced white plumes, while dry wood made dark smoke, allowing for even more variety. And these weren't random. They were standardized within the community, understood by those trained to read them. In open plains, these signals could be seen for miles, creating an early warning system that could alert entire regions in minutes. Long before heliographs, native peoples used polished stones, mica, or later metal mirrors to reflect sunlight in controlled flashes. By angling the reflector and covering it with the hand at intervals, they could send brief bursts of light across great distances. An optical code not unlike Morse. These sun signals were ideal in areas where smoke might be too easily spotted by enemies. They were fast, silent, and incredibly precise, perfect for daytime communication over long, flat landscapes. Sometimes messages needed to last longer than a moment. Hunters or scouts left arrows stuck in the ground at specific angles to point toward danger, water, or prey. Rock cairns, small stacks, marked safe trails, ambush points, or hidden caches of food. A line of broken branches could signal direction, while peeled bark trees served as long-lasting trail markers. To outsiders, these looked like random debris. To those who knew how to read them, they were silent instructions left for friends who might pass hours or days later. When distance made visual signals impossible, sound carried the message. Drums could echo across valleys, their rhythm carrying meaning. A slow, steady beat might call for a meeting. A rapid, urgent pounding warned of danger or approaching enemies. The exact beat patterns varied by region, but the idea was the same: turn sound into language. Some drumming patterns were so distinct they could even identify which village was calling. An audible caller ID. High-pitched whistles, bone flutes, and even reed instruments were used to send messages in forests where drums would be muffled. Hunters often used bird calls, either natural whistles or imitations, to coordinate silently. A certain number of hoots could signal "circle left." A different rhythm might mean "wait." This wasn't just camouflage, it was strategy. A human shout would scare game or alert enemies, but an owl hoot at dusk? That was just part of the forest. Beyond whistles, skilled hunters could imitate coyotes, wolves, or even the cries of wounded prey to lure animals closer, or signal allies without raising suspicion. In times of conflict, these sounds could pass information right under the noses of enemies. A coyote yip from one ridge could mean "move camp," while a second yip in reply confirmed the message was received. This level of mimicry required extraordinary skill and showed how deeply native communities were tuned into the soundscape of their environment.
Owl hoot.
Communication didn't always require tools. Sometimes the land itself carried the message. Seasonal trails doubled as information networks. Specific plants were transplanted or encouraged to grow near camps, serving as living signposts. Scar trees, where bark was deliberately removed, told travelers they were near water or medicine plants. This turned the wilderness into a vast, interactive map, one that only those with the knowledge could read. These communication systems were not written down, but passed on through oral tradition, apprenticeships, and observation. Young people were trained to read the sky, follow trails, and interpret signals. They learned the difference between a real owl call and a human mimic. This education wasn't just practical, it was ceremonial. Learning to send a smoke signal or read a cairn was a rite of passage, tying the next generation to the survival of the group. In an era of instant messaging and information overload, these ancient systems feel revolutionary. They were minimal but meaningful, designed to convey exactly what was needed, no more, no less. They were resilient, working without infrastructure, power, or fragile technology. Most importantly, they were rooted in respect for the land, for the community, for the message itself. Imagine if our communication today were that intentional. Imagine if we listened as carefully as we spoke. So there you have it, the lost communication systems that turned forests, plains, and rivers into living networks of information. Which one amazed you most? The precision of smoke signals, the cleverness of mirrored flashes, or the mastery of animal mimicry? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what surprised you. If you loved exploring this forgotten language of the land, hit like, share this video with someone who loves history and survival, and subscribe for more stories that bring ancient ingenuity back to life. And next time you're out in the wilderness, pause and listen. The trees and winds once carried messages, and maybe, if you pay attention, they still do.